and welcome to the 10th lecture in the LILA Prism lecture series on transformative governance. We're very happy that we have Pradip and Shekhar here today. Many of you are regulars at LILA lectures, but because there has to be some kind of an introduction, I'll just say that a few words. This lecture in the series is particularly important for us because when we are thinking about transformative governance, one would ask, governance has to be transformative actually. Why are you putting this adjective there? Since it is governance, it better be transformative. Otherwise, what is this whole thing about? The question is that interventions, it seems, is very important at this point when you look at how things are being governed. So for us as an organization, LILA is named after play and interpreted as the luminous idea of life appreciation. So for us, when you talk about governance, it's not about an agency like the government, which is coming and providing you a certain kind of setup. And you say, okay, we have a good governance. It's not that for us. For us, it is mostly about self-governance. How are we governing ourselves? How are we looking at ourselves? Because we think it is very important to look at the individuals, the basic units, without which it's impossible for us to transform.
Hello everybody, and thank you, LILA Prism, for making this possible. As you can see, the title of what I'm going to talk about today is Itne Deep Mein. The word deep is the English word deep and not the Hindi word deep. And you'll see why in a moment. I want to just preface what I'm about to say by saying that in some ways this is a very personal opinion about the way horticulture happens in Delhi at an official level. It's not something that, I must admit, it's not something I know a great deal about. If you start to question me closely about how the CPWD functions or how the forest department functions, I have some inkling. I don't really know a lot. But I will try in the course of what I'm saying, give you some sense of what I think about the work that is done by these departments. Now, I'm going to begin with 3 short stories, the import of which should become apparent as we go along. The first story dates back to something like 2001, or perhaps 2002, when it was in the run-up to writing my book about the trees of Delhi, and I went to the Samadhi Gardens. Basically, I call the gardens that begin at Rajghat and then are strung northwards along the ring road, the Samadhi Gardens. And in Shanti Van, I found a tree that I couldn't identify. And I decided that I'd go to the headquarters of the CPWD horticulture and I'd say, is there somebody who can help me identify this tree? Because I wanted to write about the tree. And they said, there is a gentleman called, I think his name was Gurbachan Singh or something like that, who had recently been the deputy director of all these gardens. And he says that all these trees are planted by him anyway. He's been there for donkey's years. So why don't you ring up Mr. Gurbachan Singh, who has recently retired, and ask him to accompany you. I'm sure he'll tell you what the tree is. So I rang him up, and he was very cooperative and very nice. And he said, sure, I'll come with you anytime you like. Tell me what time you want me to come, and I'll be there. He arrived promptly on time 2 or 3 days later. And we walked through these gardens, and I kind of tested him on a couple of trees that I thought were slightly tricky trees to identify. And I got a sense that he didn't really know what he was talking about. He knew all the common trees, but he didn't quite know some of these unusual trees. And then finally we got to this tree, and he said, "Sir, it's a Rudraksh hai." And I said, Gurbachan Singh Sahab, this cannot be a Rudraksh tree because it has milky latex, and the Rudraksh tree does not have milky latex. And he said, no, I'll prove it to you. And he called a Chaudhary who was loitering around. He said, Chaudhary, idhar aa. And the Chaudhary came to him, and Gurbachan Singh said, Sahab ko batao, kaun sa ped hai? What tree is this? And he said, Sahab, ye to Rudraksh hai. was being planned and built early in the 20th century. And if I can just quickly go forward for a second to the map, this shows you the ambit of the NDMC. It has a very limited role to play. It's the NDMC that actually controls all the avenues that we see today in London's Delhi. Avenues which they're very proud of. They believe they're very, it makes a very beautiful city. Although we're beginning to see some kinds of problems coming in, partly because I think of the withdrawal of groundwater in this part of the city. I will be talking about Lodi Gardens and Nehru Park a little later when we talk about things that they do. But 124 NDMC parks, 1,000 parks in CPW colonies, this is nothing. Wait till you see